Welcome, everyone, to the Black and White History Podcast. We are your hosts, Christian and...
It is well that war is so terrible, lest men would grow too fond of it.
Well, this one for you in particular.
Goodness gracious. The Civil War, I understand why middle-aged suburban men make the Civil War and its history their entire, 40s to 70s. Because there's so much in this. And I, for one, love war. I do. Not in principle, but, in practice. I like to look at the different dissections and the generals and the troop movements and the blah and the equipment. I do like that stuff. But, number one, underneath it all, war is just it's a bear of a thing, man. It's not good. And it's a lot, especially the Civil War, because it's one thing if you're defending from an invading country or going in to liberate an oppressed country or whatever else other kind of war there is. But a civil war is we're friends today, but tomorrow we are going to try to kill each other. And even within families, my dad and my brother are on the Union side and I'm on the Confederate side. And then all my cousins are on the Union side and I'm, my grandpa and my uncles are on the Confederate side.
It's crazy how much more common that is. Even we'll get to this more when we get to him, but Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah.
His dad was for the Union and his mom was actually for the Confederacy. And part of the reason his dad didn't enlist to the Union was because his mom was like, no, we're not doing that. So it's he grew up seeing that in both his parents and everything. So
that kind of explains a lot. Yeah, of course. It's just, I wonder if she sided with the Confederacy before he said that he sided with the Union, or if she was just being contrary.
Yeah.
Honey, I think the Confederates really have I hear what they're saying, but I'm really a Union guy. Really? Well, I love the Confederates. Why don't you like the Confederates? What? You don't like slaves? So, I don't know. That probably isn't how it went, but maybe it is. I'm rewriting history.
Yeah.
But it's, the Civil War is kind of a defining war for us as a nation. Not only in our composition, kind of bringing new stuff into what the presidency and the executive and Congress can do, but it kind of solidified our identity as the United States under the federal oversight. States definitely still have their own flavors, their own laws and rules, but it was a more, homogenous country after the Civil War. There's still pockets. We're still working that out. But in general, you go to Alabama or you go to Kansas or you go to New York or you go to California, there's the baseline stuff. And that kind of really calcified during and after the Civil War.
Yeah, I think this is the end of the era, basically, of the states' rights, kind of when people would say, at this time, Robert E. Lee, for example, which we have a lot to touch on.
We'll talk about
Rob. But when he would even say things oh, I'm doing this for my country, or this is my nation, when he would say that, a lot of times he was actually referring to just Virginia, his state. And so we can't even really relate to that now because everything's so mixed and everything.
It's very weird. And I think we knew a bunch of people in 2020 and 2021 who just picked up and moved to a different state. And that was not super common, really, for most of our nations. At least the beginning part. You were born in Kentucky, you lived in Kentucky, you died in Kentucky, and that's it. And you joined the militia, you fought for Kentucky with people from Kentucky, and that's what we did. And now it's just, think of our modern military. We got people from all over the place, all over the world that kind of come over and join. So it's the composition, the framework, the fabric of our nation changed from isolated states into a union. And it changed the culture of our country. But we had to go through a big old war first for almost 5 years, 4.5 years or so.
Yeah, here, before we get into it, let's just do a quick summary in case anyone hasn't gone and listened to previous 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot. If you're just now getting it, you're behind the power curve, but we will help you.
Well, to say, basically, in case anyone doesn't know, which if you stumble on this podcast, you
There
probably
used to be
are.
slaves.
Yeah. So you have the Mason-Dixon line that divides right in the middle of the country, and which is formed from basically the Missouri Compromise from James Monroe. So, fifth president, he says, okay, fine. Everyone's arguing about the slave thing. We'll just make it the South gets a state when they come in, and the North can get a state. So you had that with Missouri, and then the North was like, "Whoa, hold on, now it's uneven." So then they did that. I think with Maine.
Yeah.
They split Maine from what used to just all be Massachusetts, basically, and so turned to Maine, and then it was just kind of flip flop, and then that ended when Franklin Pierce just basically gets rid of that and says, "Okay, popular sovereignty. Everyone just gets to choose what they want." And it was especially controversial, which we didn't really mention this, but the fact that Kansas and Nebraska, which was what was on the table for this, were above the Mason-Dixon line. So that in itself was already crazy that those might be slave states, let alone already just scrapping the Missouri Compromise. And of course, when you have popular sovereignty like that, you get a bunch of people flooding the states to try to lobby their side, and by any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
And then at the same time of this, there's a bunch of horrible Supreme Court cases, like the Fugitive Slave Act, where if a slave escapes, then, to the North, then not only can they be captured and brought back, but Northern officials have to participate in that, or they could be held liable. And so that's a whole thing. And then Dred Scott, who tries to sue for his freedom because he went to a free state, but the Supreme Court's like, "Oh no, sorry, you don't actually have any rights. You can't sue for your freedom, even though your owners broke the law by bringing you into a free state." And so condense all that down. Is now we're in the Civil War.
Yeah, in a span of, the Missouri Compromise was in the early 1800s.
Yeah, so it was like 1820. Yeah, ish.
And then there. So this is a conflict that's been brewing quietly for like 60 years. No, 40 years. And then got really, really loud 10, 15 years.
Well, and you mentioned too, we've talked about, you talked about the cotton gin.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point.
Eli Whitney.
So this, machine that takes all the seeds out of cotton and everything. I didn't really know a ton about that. So you educated me on that more than I knew about it. I was just the machine that does that thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that machine that did that thing used to be a bunch of people, usually children, who did that thing. So we found a machine to do that thing. So we just need more slaves to put more cotton in that machine. By Jove, we're going to make a fortune. And then he shot pistols in the air because everyone's Yosemite Sam in the South.
In 1790 or 1801. So.
Yeah, whatever. It's a thing. So,
but yeah, it was the idea with the Constitution was like, okay, obviously slavery's a thing, but it'll die out because it's just going to be too difficult to manage. And then the cotton gin came out, and we're like, wait a second,
it's way easier to manage than we thought it was.
This whole system way longer than we thought we could. So
yes.
No one really anticipated that, but
no.
Infrastructure is going to infrastructure though.
Yes, it will. It makes it way easier. Because again, the U.S. at this point is kind of the last Western European origin nation to still have slavery. Britain had abolished slavery in the mid to late 1700s, if I'm not mistaken, and so it's on its way out. And I think, like you said, people who were in power kind of slow walked this thing. Like, slavery's just going to kind of die out. We don't have to be the ones to push the nuclear button and destroy the whole country's economy by doing that. It'll just kind of fall out of fashion, really. Turns out making a lot of money with free labor never goes out of style. And it just got ramped up, and it came to a boiling point in 1861.
Yeah. So then, I should also mention James Buchanan comes in. As soon as Abraham Lincoln wins his presidency, states start seceding, and he's kind of like, can't do anything about it.
Sorry, guys.
And so
it's just me, Jimmy B. Can't do nothing about it. Yeah. So I guess kind of before we get into like the war and the battles, and yes, this will be a war battle one. Like the Civil War is worth, whether you're into war or not, like the Civil War is worth understanding, at least like from over a 20,000 foot view. You can get real into the weeds with it, but understanding the context of it, because this was like, think of it, like almost it's like 700,000 people either died or were wounded during this. That's more American casualties than World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the Revolution, all put together.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it is.
I know it was like, our population went down 2% or something like that. So
yeah, it's extremely significant. And it, yeah, it's worth understanding. It's worth at least knowing. I think it's worth knowing more than the Civil War happened, Abraham Lincoln was president, and then he died after the war ended. Like, it's worth knowing more about it than that. You don't have to get too technical about it. We got technical for you. But, so yeah, sort of, let's set the stage. Set the stage. So, okay. 95 to 98% of people in the North and in the South don't have slaves at all. Slaves is a rich man's game. It's expensive to buy them. It's expensive to have the land. It's expensive to maintain them. So the vast, vast majority of people do not have slaves at all. So this war kicks off. Now, you may think of like the Revolutionary War, where everyone is in like really brightly colored uniforms with oddly placed like crosshairs right on the shoot me here. Like, I don't know why they did that, but that is from a style of war called Napoleonic warfare from Napoleon. And that's where everyone stands in a line and they all have their big old muskets and they shoot and some people get hit. And then the other side shoots, and then some people get hit. And then we march a little bit closer to each other, and we shoot again, and then they shoot. And then we get so close, or we run out of ammunition, or it just takes too long, because it takes a long time to load those, that we just have really long knives on the ends of our guns, and we just spear each other to death until one side just says, oh, I give up, and then they run away. And then we win the day. Hooray, huzzah. So that was a style of warfare in Europe and in early America. But at this time, technology as far as like guns and ammunition had advanced. Okay, we're gonna nerd out. So musket balls, like they load from the front, from the muzzle, so they're called muzzle loaders. They have you put gunpowder, black powder in the muzzle. You get a patch, like a piece of cotton and a ball that's about the size of a silver dollar. Well, maybe a little smaller, about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bigger. It's .57 caliber, .77 caliber. It's a big old ball of lead. So you put that in a cotton patch and you shove that down the end of it, of the gun with a stick. And then you pour a little bit more gunpowder in the pan, and there's a piece of flint that hits and makes sparks and lights that gunpowder, and there's a little hole that lights the other gunpowder, and then it makes a big boom, and there's a big puff of smoke. And the musket is a smooth bore. It doesn't have little grooves in the barrel, so it's a smooth bore. So it's a circle, a sphere, traveling down a smooth pipe, just out that way somewhere. And it kind of goes where it wants to, and you might hit someone. It's accurate to maybe about 100 yards, but you have to be kind of good with it. You have to practice with it. And so part of the whole reason for the Napoleonic warfare, we have to get really close to each other because our guns don't shoot that far. And also it's like a gentlemanly thing, and we're courageous, and we're standing up, and you can see us, and we're not hiding, blah, 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 blah. It's stupid to stand there and die, but that's what they did. Now, fast forward from that time period to now this time period, instead of like that flint with the pan of gunpowder, which is called a flintlock, think of like old pirate things, like a flintlock. Those are super unreliable because think about it, you got gunpowder just out in a little dish. Mm-hmm. If it rains, if you breathe on it weird, if you spill it because people are being shot at, it misfires, it doesn't fire, you could do too much and just blow the gun up. Like, it's a very imprecise, not reliable system, but it worked pretty well. Fast forward to now, we have, they're called percussion caps. So they're tiny gunpowder charges in like a brass cap. And you put it on a little nipple that is cocked back with a spring. And when it goes forward, it hits the little plate and creates a little mini explosion. That lights the powder inside the thing. So it's way, way easier to load the gun. The other thing that happened is called the mini ball. So instead of a sphere, think of like a ball bearing. Instead of a sphere, now it's kind of a conical, more bullet-shaped projectile that we think of now. Almost think of like a shotgun shell. It's about that size. Maybe a little smaller. And the bottom of it is kind of hollowed out. And the reason that they did that, lead is a very soft metal. When the gunpowder explodes, it creates a lot of pressure. And it deforms that bottom part and flares it out. Now that bottom part can catch the rifling inside the barrel and actually spin the bullet. So think of like shot putting a basketball as a smooth bore. Like, it'll kind of go, but versus throwing a football. It's more aerodynamic, it has spin on it, it's more accurate, it travels farther. It's a better ball. Same thing with the mini ball. Now, instead of an effective range of like 100-ish yards, now we have an effective range of like 400 yards. So you can give this rifle to someone they can point at a person roughly and shoot them from 4 football fields away and probably hit them. And it's a big old projectile. It will hurt you. It will kill you, most likely. And if it doesn't kill you, if it hits you in the hip or the leg or the shoulder or something like that, yeah, I mean, it's taking your leg off. Yeah. It's breaking the bones. It is a catastrophic injury, no matter what. So now we have guns that are faster to load. They shoot farther. They're more accurate. And the problem with that is the tactics haven't really changed, at least early in the war.
Yeah.
So we are still lining people up by the thousands in close shoulder-to-shoulder formations, and just people getting mowed down, because now it's not a guess at 100 yards. Now you're walking up to the battlefield, and people can see you from the hill over there, and they just pick you guys off, and you're just standing shoulder to shoulder, wearing these nasty gray uniforms made of wool in the Virginia heat. Whose idea was that? For a land that produced so much cotton.
Yeah.
We couldn't do a lighter like a linen uniform, something light. Maybe the wool for winter. Nope, wool uniforms. So, like,
Gettysburg in July, man.
Good Lord.
It's that sweaty.
It's just sweaty.
Time.
And they don't shower. They don't have plumbing. There's digging holes, maybe. Pooping on the side there. I mean, disease was a massive, massive problem. It killed more people than actual, like, gunfire. Yeah, so... And then you have the artillery. So artillery are just big cannons, basically. And they shoot, like, you'll hear different places like, oh, it's a 6-pound gun or a 12-pound gun. That's how heavy the cannonball was. Mm-hmm. And they didn't just have solid cannonballs. So a cannonball, it just goes in there and it shoots. And it shoots a 12-pound cannonball at like 800 miles an hour with a range of like 1,000 yards. Now you think, if you just shoot a cannonball up into the air and it comes down, it'll just go right in the ground. That's why the artillery guys were super smart and super wicked. They would skip those things off the ground. They would bounce from anywhere from like knee to chest height. Think of like a bowling ball coming at a wall of people, like 6 people deep. It cuts through them like nothing. It blows people apart. They also had airburst explosives. They would shoot them up and they would explode with a fuse and shoot little balls down at them. Like, it is like the most hellish possible thing for a 19-year-old farm boy from Kentucky to run into for a cause he does not fully understand, other than I like Kentucky and my brother and my cousins are all going. And now we just get blown apart by a flaming bowling ball traveling at 1,000 miles an hour. Like, it's crazy. So that's the scene for what these people are about to walk into. And no one washes their hands.
That's the worst part.
That's the worst part.
The most dangerous part.
No, it really, actually, technically is.
Yeah.
Because there's no sanitation, so you get your leg blown off. If you live, now a dude with other people's blood and dirt and poop on his hands comes over and like digs his hands into your open wound.
Yeah.
All right, you're good. No, you're dead. You're dead. Like, it's like, we won't see a more hellish thing until what?
World War I.
World War I, which is only 50 years from now.
Yeah.
We're really good at killing each other. We're really good at it.
No, I think that's at least with the point you made with, not knowing exactly what we're fighting for, because I think that gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
Where you have the government's reason for war,
Mm-hmm.
and this is true just in the course of all of human history,
Yeah.
is often different than the regiment's
Yeah.
reason for war.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, being so far detached from it, you can say, oh, well, yeah, obviously it's about, ending slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And the South were bad because they wanted to keep slavery because they're really mean. And the Union were really good because they wanted to get rid of slavery. You put a nice bow on it,
Yeah.
and there's
That's
your history. Not, kind of.
Mostly like 65% true.
Yeah, I'll say that you have, the abolitionist movement is all going to be in the North. And so, of course, they're fighting for that cause. There's also just the idea that, they don't want they want to preserve the Union. And so it doesn't really have much to do with slaves. They just want to preserve the Union from the country splitting and both sides just collapsing. And then you have the South, where it's like, sure, the small percentage of people who have slaves, I would say even, how many of those people really who own slaves? If you own slaves and you were obviously wealthy enough to acquire them, how many of those really actually fought in the war? Probably
Pretty much none.
Yeah, so it's already this small. Then you have just a sliver of maybe,
Pretty much nobody, because they could pay to
Right.
avoid the draft.
Yeah.
Or have other poor people go fight for them. And I won't make any commentary about that in modern times.
Yeah. So, yeah. So the Iraq War.
Whoa! Whoa! So Vietnam.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No. So you have the South where it's, well, they're just encroaching into our state, and like we said before, there's such a unity around your statehood, and it's like, well, I don't want my farmland to get destroyed, so I guess we better try to fend off the rest of the Union coming in. And you have others where it's more, they one way or the other about slavery, but it's more in terms of they just want to have the right to make their own decision.
Yeah, you can't come in and tell me what to do.
Right.
With this land that my family cleared and tended and we have generations buried out in the back 40. You're not just going to roll in and do whatever you want to us just because you said so. It doesn't matter what it's about. Like, that's the whole Southern pride thing. Like, I think Southerners honestly get a bad rap for like Southern pride because we always tie it back to, well, are you proud of slavery? It's like, I don't think they are.
Right.
Honestly, like looking back. But like,
well, I'll just add another one to that. And you have someone, Robert A. Lee, for example, who, obviously we'll get more into him and everything, but just his outlook of slavery was he wasn't a fan of it, but he didn't think just cutting it off completely was a good idea because it would just collapse the economy. Yeah. So he wanted a more gradual approach. But you have that on top of he's a Virginian, no, my nation is my state. And so, like I said, it's hard to relate to that in modern times, but like I said, it's not that perfect bow. There's so much nuance.
Yes.
And in my opinion, I think that's where the most interesting parts of a conflict lie.
It makes the war, any war, actually three-dimensional. It's not just good guys versus bad guys or red guys versus blue guys. It's each individual soldier had their own reason for going. And a lot of it was about family and about heritage and about preserving their rights as they saw them, which, regardless of what you think about like the overarching thing, you have to give honor to the individuals who are willing to go do that for whatever reason they think, misguided or not. Like, you can't fault someone for saying, I'll put my life on the line to defend this ideal, even if it's a bad one. I mean, you give a little bit of props to that. But,
sure.
Yeah. So,
okay, should we get into the
Fort Sumter,
Okay.
1861.
April 12th. Here we go.
December
Civil War
7th,
starts.
This,
and it kind of, well, it's interesting because, that's another thing about the war is it was really only supposed to last like a day.
in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you think about it, it's the Union Army. It's the big blue meanie.
Yeah.
And they're gonna come down and hold your nose and kick your ass. And this is gonna be over, you bunch of bumpkins down in the South. So hold on to your tricorn hats that have been out of fashion for 60 years, because we're gonna come and steamroll you. Except
Didn't it even happen?
Fort Sumter.
Yeah, right. So you have the Battle of Fort Sumter in South Carolina, and
First state to secede, actually.
yes, that's true. Yep, you're right. And he, it's so much supplies and all this stuff is in there. So you have all this loot inside this fort.
Many loot crates.
Yeah. And so Lincoln says, okay, we need to claim this fort because it's ours anyway. And so that's kind of the conflict of, well, if the fort is in South Carolina and South Carolina is now part of the Confederacy, technically it's not the Union's fort. But before they seceded, they signed the deed over back to the Union. And so technically,
Well, we bought the stuff anyways.
it's our, yeah.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, Mr. Lincoln.
Yeah. So we go down and, it's like on this island thing, basically. It kind of looks like, what's that famous prison?
Alcatraz.
Alcatraz, yeah.
It does. I did get Alcatraz vibes from
Yeah. So anyway, there's a big standoff of who's going to fire first. So it's kind of like the shot heard around the world kind of thing with the Revolutionary War. It's basically a sequel of that.
Except we know who shot first.
Yeah.
It was
definitely the South.
It was the Confederates who shot first.
So, and
they didn't stop shooting.
Yes. Well, no, it was like cannon fire, like all the way through. And so, and I think the first people who actually died was after the surrender had happened.
Yeah.
And so, kind of already starting with a bit of a mess.
Yeah,
so,
wasn't it like they did the formal surrender and then there was like a cannon shot like salute type thing.
Yes,
and then
yeah,
like
that's
the
what
cannon
happened.
exploded, and then two
Yes.
guys died. It's like, oh, oh no, sorry,
It started
Billy.
like a slapstick sitcom. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
dismembered.
Dr. Zoidberg.
Oh,
So that's what he sounded like.
oh, is it? Oh yes.
Anyway, I'll cut that.
Oh, this cannon.
I'll either cut it or I have to put a clip of Dr. Zoidberg now. So. Anyway, so this whole thing now kicks off, and you have a couple. Each side has their own strategy on how to win. The Union side is we have to beat the South. The South is we have to survive long enough. So they finally just give up, and we can. And so they use the midterms as a timing spot in the next election, 64. And oh no, I said election. Sorry, YouTube keeps getting mad at us that we're saying election and voting and stuff because
It happened. It was an election that
well,
happened.
It's interpreting that we're providing election interference. So anyway,
If
sorry.
Abraham Lincoln ran again, I would gladly lobby for him.
Okay. Anyway,
Yes.
it's kind of a nothing. There's not a whole lot of.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that's what
they
kind of what
they
happened.
started. They shelled the hell out of
yeah.
the fort, and the fort is on an island, and they said, well, we don't want to be the first ones to die here, so we surrender. And they said, hooray, the South the South will rise. And they take that, and it is a lot of these we'll see as we go on. A lot of these are psychological victories for the South because the North was just such a fearsome war machine. They had all the industry, they had better supply lines, they had better pretty much everything.
Except for generals, and that's something that we need to bring up. So, at this point, all of the top generals are basically really old and fat.
They suck. They suck really bad.
You have Winfield Scott, who was
Remember him?
Yeah, he was a soldier in the War of 1812. He commanded an army in the Mexican-American War. At this point, he's not going to lead a charge out.
Come on, lads.
Yeah,
We're gonna take it to him.
There was like something I saw where he had a hard time even getting up on a horse.
Yeah, because he's like 70 in
Yeah.
1861.
Right. He was already supposed to die like a decade
Yeah,
before.
he
So.
should have died 5 times over. Nope.
So-
Winnie's still around.
Yeah. There's a whole list of, okay, who do we got? Well, we got this general from 1812. Okay, that was,
How about McClellan? No.
Yeah, okay.
No.
We can, well, okay, we gotta wait on McClellan.
Yeah.
Still, he doesn't come quite yet.
No.
So then what Lincoln does is and this is actually like a really good strategy,
Mm-hmm.
even though the North was doing a really bad job for a while, but this is the Navy kind of starts getting beefed up a little bit. And
Which the Union has and the South does not.
right,
have.
exactly, yeah. So he sends all the naval ships to basically just surround the South, and so now they can't get anywhere, and that also, and this kind of bites the North in the butt a little bit, but now they can't do any cotton trading with Europe.
Yes.
So that's all cut off, which ends up being kind of a problem. But
Yes. It is a big problem because money runs the world, and money runs wars. And if you are a brand new Confederate state, your credit limit is real small. So you can't just make up money. You can't give Britain and France an IOU. You need to trade them something for money. And luckily, the South had a lot of agriculture. The problem with that is they usually just sold it to the North. And then the North sold it other places because they made stuff out of it. And the South tried to continue trading with the British, who were really heavily reliant on textiles, so like cloth, from the South. But this whole blockade nonsense kind of made it difficult for Britain to keep the money flowing back and forth and not upset the North. And they considered, well, we might just not care about upsetting the North. We might just side with the South.
yeah,
But I can't remember what year it was, but Lincoln, with the Emancipation Proclamation, made it quite a sticky wicket for the British to actually officially side with the South. Because if this is just a territory dispute, if this is just about states' rights and secession, then Britain doesn't have really any moral baggage about backing one side or the other.
we just need new pillows.
We just want new draperies, please. The Queen needs her drapes, and we're going to get them by thunder, and the South produces them. So if it's just an economics war, if it's just an internal conflict, hey, Britain plays both sides of wars all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal to them.
Sometimes in the same war.
In the same war against themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but they do it. But when the Emancipation Proclamation happened, it treated the slaves in the southern states as war contraband, so they could seize them and free them ostensibly. Now it shifted from, this is not an economic war, this is a war about slavery. And you just abolished slavery not too long ago, didn't you, Britain? You don't want to help a slave-owning country that's rebelling against your ally, the United States. You don't want to help them, do you? And the British said, no, probably not. So they kind of washed their hands of that whole deal. And the South said, drat, now we're poor again.
Yeah.
And that kind of set the tone for the rest of their war, because money runs wars.
Well, and also it's, like we've said, this war wasn't supposed to take so long.
No.
So it's like, okay, we just won't worry about the UK and everything right now. Let's just do the Battle of Bull Run,
Yes.
which we'll talk about next, and this will just be over, and then there's
And
no
it'll be
trading
fine.
problems, and it's all good. But then
Slaves
it just
for
keeps dragging
everyone.
on. Yeah, it just drags on and on and on and on. And so
Yeah, attrition only works if you can feed yourself.
yeah,
Or you can make your own guns. It doesn't work if the other team has twice as much stuff as you do, and they aren't dissuaded by losing as much as you thought they would be. So that kind of leads up to the first Battle of Bull Run, because there's multiple.
yeah,
This is another thing that we'll realize in this Civil War. We're not fighting over like vast areas. It's kind of
like
like
the
a
same cities.
It's
over
like kind of a back and forth.
Yeah.
Weren't there like 3 battles of Bull Run?
There's
At
like
least
a
2.
handful.
It's like the 17th battle.
Yeah,
of Bull
there was
Run.
like 6 or 7 or something.
Yeah,
So.
but it also sets a tone for the war. Like there are strategic choke points and control points, mostly around infrastructure and logistics, traveling, trade, stuff like that, that both sides knew were critical to either winning the war or losing the war. So these areas get fought over a lot.
Yeah. So this then becomes the next, okay, this is the only battle, and then we'll figure it out. And this is such a weird thing that happens where they all show up, and this is like around like Virginia and stuff. A lot of these battles are going to happen around there.
Yeah.
And
In Manassas.
yeah. So apparently not a lot of people at this time have seen war, because what they decide to do is,
there's a battle happening tomorrow. Get the kids.
yeah, so thinking it's like some sort of performative arts play or something, they all show up, all these civilians circle around, like far away enough, no one's like getting killed or anything, but they decide to picnic and watch the event happen.
They're tiny binoculars.
Yeah, you have a monocle.
That's General McDowell. I can see him down there.
And very quickly become very educated on what war looks like.
Yeah, remember those 12-pound, 1,000-mile-an-hour cannonballs? Yeah, little Timmy saw that firsthand.
Yep. So basically this happens. This battle comes about because the Union are traveling from D.C., trying to get to Richmond, but like in between Richmond and D.C.
Richmond is the Confederate capital.
Yeah, it's the Confederate capital in Virginia.
You get the enemy base, you win the war.
Right. And so like, oh, well, it's only like an hour away. Let's just go down there and we can just win the war.
Pack a lunch.
Yeah. And Ma and Pa will come out and we can celebrate.
Yeah.
So, but then the battle happens at Manassas about in between. And so they say, okay, usually it's called Bull Run. A lot of times there's 2 names for certain battles. And it's because the South would name it the Battle of Manassas because that's the city that it was in, but the North would name it based on a body of water or some other type of land piece or something like that. And so,
Cemetery Hill.
right.
Bull
And
Run.
obviously since the war, or the North won,
We get to name
we
stuff.
get to the ones yeah, those are the ones in the history books, so that's kind of how that goes. But so they end up the North does get ambushed in Manassas, and then they say, okay, fine, I guess we'll just fight it out here, and then we'll try to travel further down south to Richmond. But instead we lose.
Yes,
So
we lost roughly 3,000. I mean, they marched a force of like 36,000 down there. They said, that should be fine. Don't need to overdo it. And they lose about 10% of their people.
yeah, well, and part of it too is, like we've said, the Confederacy is brand new, so they're making all their stuff for the first time, and so they're like, well, we don't want to look blue in blue uniforms, we need gray uniforms, and so they don't have enough to make on time for this war to really get going.
Logistics.
So a lot of the Confederacy at this point are still wearing regular civilian clothes and everything. So the Union has a really hard time knowing who to even shoot at.
I mean, there's people picnicking. I mean, I don't want to shoot a picnicker. I don't know how he got down here. He's wearing regular stuff. I don't know. I mean, history doesn't rhyme, but it does repeat. No, the opposite way.
Yeah.
That's the problem with an insurgency that doesn't wear uniforms, is you can't tell who you're supposed to be shooting. And most people, the vast majority of people, soldiers especially, they've studied this a lot. even soldiers who are trained and know that they are going there to kill other people, we don't like killing other people. We will intentionally miss. We will hesitate. We don't want to shoot people. Now it's one thing if the bad guys are wearing green and we're wearing blue. So I know if I'm going to shoot someone, it's got to be someone over there. Now they're all mixed in a town and there's people over there. I don't know who to shoot. And then they know who to shoot because you're all wearing blue.
Yeah. And also this is something that the Confederacy does really well, is appointing really strong generals. And so not only with Robert E. Lee, but this battle in particular was with Thomas Stonewall Jackson. So he leads the charge and cleans up.
Yeah, he routes the North, the Union Army, and they run with their tails between their legs back to D.C. Which again, not like decisive battle in that we killed 100,000 soldiers and they can't fight anymore. It's a big psychological victory. Like, they were gonna get us, those stuffy Northerners, and we did a good old-fashioned Virginia bushwhack on them and sent them back home running to their mamas. Like, that's just the story that they told, and the story they would continue to tell every single time they won, which was frequently early in the war.
It goes to show that with the Confederacy being so much lower in numbers and supplies, them being able to appoint, I mean, if we had Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and the Union, the war would have been over like immediately. And so the fact that it goes to show the strength of generals who are strong with being tacticians and things like that, and just I guess overall leaders and stuff, but in particular being really good strategic tacticians. We get our butt handed to us by a lot. But so right after this is, we've already touched on this, but Lincoln suspends the Constitution.
Like, oh wow, this is not going to be an afternoon affair. Quick, burn the Constitution. Because he has lost something. They lost Sumter, and then they lost at Bull Run, and the supply lines are now being threatened. We got to lock this thing down. This is not going to be a cakewalk like we thought it was going to be. We need to batten down the hatches and make sure that we can continue to sustain this war until we finish it.
And then right around the same time as that, we haven't talked about him at all at this point. He really deserves his own episode. Maybe we'll do that at some point. But Frederick Douglass.
Yes.
This ends up happening a little bit later, but he's working with Lincoln pretty closely on trying to get him to allow free blacks to enlist in the army.
And Lincoln's like, nah.
He's kind of like, well, I don't know if this is...
Yeah, come on, guys.
I just won the election, and I don't want to destroy my reputation so quickly. So,
guys, let's not.
Plus, I mean, it is true. It's you want to get as many strong, cadets or whatever as you can, and just enlisting a huge group of people who've never even held a gun before or even know how to do. It's a huge risk, especially early on in the war, where it's
we don't really need to do that.
Right. The perspective is more like, hey, I think we got it. Let's just try. So
we're good. Thanks. Don't worry about it. Spoiler alert, it was not great. So that was in the summer of 61.
Yeah.
The summer of 61.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if you have any.
No.
Okay.
Nope. We lost. That's it.
Okay. I'm just going through my notes here. Okay, George McClellan. Here we go. Now we have
George McClellan.
So George McClellan is a Democrat who wants to preserve the Union. So he's the Stephen Douglas, the kind of Franklin Pierce, the kind of, I don't know what I'm doing, but we need to try to not allow the country to split, but I don't know how to do that. And he ends up being a very bad choice to be the lead commander. What's his role?
Major general or something.
Okay. He has a reputation of talking the talk but not walking the walk. Basically.
Yeah, he's kind of a puss, really.
Yeah, so he doesn't have a ton of experience, but he has a huge ego and is very good at lobbying himself into positions that he has no right to be in.
Yeah, there's something to be said for like fake it till you make it, but when you have like 100,000 people's lives in your hands, you probably want to like not fake it. You probably want to know, at least have a good idea or some sort of track record about what you're going to do. And he's the perfect sort of like, I know the theory of war, but actually commanding soldiers and making sound tactical decisions he wasn't good at it.
Yeah, and he runs into this similar problem that a lot of generals that Lincoln had at this point, where they're just way too skittish and they don't want to push, and they want to just, let's just sit this out for a bit, and maybe we can loop around here, we can, and so that ends up being a course of a lot of bad decisions.
Yes,
for,
he's very well known for. He was he wasn't a complete failure. I mean, pretty much, but like he had a good organizational sense. He had a good sense of logistics and how many people we needed to do something like this. He had a sense of that. But in war, there's something called seizing the initiative. So if you're winning the war, if you're winning a battle, and they're starting to flee, or you see an opening that you can exploit, you once you see it, you need to go for it and take more ground and advance and consolidate your position. It's not enough to be like, we're over here, you're over there, you're running away, and we're just going to stay here. Because that's just like, how do you know that you won if you don't advance and take territory? Mm-hmm. And he was well known for, I mean, at least twice. He won a battle, could have pursued Lee. If you take out Lee, or weaken him, or damage his reputation or his standing, then you weaken the entire Confederacy.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's
he
like
just
taking out the queen.
Yeah,
he just
did. It wouldn't necessarily end the war. They have other generals, but like, he's their guy. And if you won't go and take out that guy, take the risk to, maybe it's a trap, maybe it's not like it appears. Like, you have to have the initiative to go after him, because if you get him, it's a major win. Mm-hmm. And he just lets him go to sort of say, hey, I won. We didn't lose that many guys. I'm good. Mm-hmm. Totally good. And that's not the strategy that Lincoln wanted to end the war.
Yeah.
And you can't win the war sitting on your heels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is the problem going on there. Meanwhile, we can talk about what's going on in the West. Some good news.
At the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Was that Shiloh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Battle of Shiloh. So we have another general that's rising up in the ranks.
Yes. I was surprised at how unknown he was. Like he was a general, so he was like known. But
Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes, exactly. I was surprised at how unknown he was at that phase. I kind of assumed that Grant was one of the top guys always.
Yeah, and he was like an unsung hero for much of his career.
Most of the war, for most of his career and most of the war, at least half the war.
He fought in the Mexican-American War, mm-hmm. and he ended up getting in trouble for drinking too much, basically.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
And so, maybe that must have played a big enough role with him.
Yeah, I mean,
Grant, just go in the West and try to help with Mississippi. And,
Oh, Mississippi. Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still true today, but like, it's one thing to be like a corporal or a sergeant, or they're called non-commissioned officers, because they just sort of lead people on the ground. But once you get into the high ranks, like colonel or general or marshal, whatever the ranks are, like, it becomes a more political thing. People have to like you, mm-hmm. and you have to have like a good reputation, or you won't get that slot. Even if you're the best person for that job, the guys who make those decisions have to like you, or have trust and faith in you. And so for Grant, like, he didn't get fully blackballed, but he did get sent kind of off to the side, while people like McClellan or Pope, who were more polished.
We're going to get into there's a laundry list of commanding generals that Lincoln goes through before Grant ends up getting that position.
Yeah.
So he was pretty far down.
He was far down the list, like number 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Shiloh is in Tennessee, and
it's like right near the border of Kentucky and Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where he was stationed at first. So there's a lot of small battles that he was doing pretty well picking off and getting. It was just, with the big stuff in the east, we were being demolished in. With the little small things that Grant and then Sherman, which we'll get more to him, but
yeah, we will.
Yeah. He started to kind of build up a better reputation. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, the Confederates are outnumbered by the Union, like 60,000 to 40,000, and it's General. So Grant is on the Union side, and then General Beauregard and General Johnston on the Confederate side. They're good generals on the Confederate side, but they're not like the top guys, but they're good generals for sure. So the Confederates kind of do a surprise attack on the Union, and they wipe out a bunch of Union soldiers. This is a multi-day thing. Most of these battles are multi-day. It's not like, hey, we meet up for an hour, we shoot for a second.
Yeah,
and we
right. Some of these would go on for weeks.
No, weeks.
But,
yeah. Almost always at least a few days. Oftentimes many days. So the Union gets whacked again, but Grant is able to kind of reform and restabilize, and he counterattacks and actually drives the Confederates away on the second day. But they lose. The Union loses like 12,000, and the Confederates lose 10 or 11.
Yeah, it's like the deadliest battle at this point in the war, basically. But yeah, I mean, Grant still wins. But like I said before, a lot of these older skittish generals in the East are bad mouthing him to Lincoln, saying, "Oh, he's way too skittish. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just throwing all this out." But Lincoln's response is more of, "Yeah, but he won. None of you guys are doing anything."
Yeah.
So it's kind of it was like one of the first things. Which I mean, Lincoln and Grant knew each other beforehand, but this was kind of one of the first things where it's like, "Wait, I think I got a guy here." So he's still going to keep him out in West for a while.
So yeah, I mean, and also, I mean, that's basically the Battle of Shiloh. But that, just think about it for a second. It's 22,000 combined casualties. So like, and I guess casualties are different from fatalities. Like people just outright killed,
Right.
is a different number than casualties. But casualties include people who are killed, people who are wounded, or people who are missing or captured, basically. And so like, when you're talking about war stuff, they talk about casualties because whatever happens to you, you are no longer able to fight.
Yeah.
Whether you're dead, injured, captured, or you ran off, or we can't find you,
right.
or you got exploded by a speeding bowling ball, and no one knew where you went because you're vapor. So, like 22,000 people in 2 days. That's like, this is the scale of stuff we're talking about. It's a lot of people. So, anyways, that's Shiloh.
And then at the same time as this is Lincoln and McClellan, their relationship is further fracturing. And
They're having a
heats
little
up.
tiff.
Yeah. So it's not only McClellan just not being super experienced, it's that they can't even agree on battle strategies or like when to attack or how many troops. McClellan has this thing where he wants more than what Lincoln is able to give him. So, there's this thing of, oh, they have 20,000 troops, so I need 30. Okay, fine, we'll give you 30,000. Yeah, but what if the Confederacy has 40,000? I need 50,000. And it's kind of like...
What if they have a secret spaceship with 100 million nuclear weapons? I need 50,000 soldiers or I can't attack. And it's like, you might just be a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
You might just not want to do it.
And I mean, that's basically it. There's like one story. I can't remember exactly when this happened, but Lincoln showed up to McClellan's house to go over stuff in the middle of the night with him. And McClellan showed up, saw he was there waiting for him, Lincoln, the President of the United States.
His commander.
Yeah, waiting in his living room for him. And George McClellan just ignores him, goes upstairs, and goes to sleep without saying anything to him. It's a real story that happens. So,
you're fired.
if that gives you an idea.
You're freaking fired, dude.
And Lincoln was still like,
All
right, we'll try this in the morning.
30,000 it is then. All right. Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah.
So, Confederate General John Magruder.
Magruder.
There's this, I forgot about this, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but another thing, we'll just trash on George McClellan right now.
He's like our John Adams. He's our
Yes.
military John Adams.
So he ends up tricking George McClellan George McClellan has all his troops, and they're like, okay, they're coming over here. And it was something with like the forest was split up, and they were looking down, and so they couldn't see, he didn't have a very good field of view. But the Confederate General, John Magruder, he has this idea where he knows that the Union has way more troops than him. So he does this optical illusion where he splits his troops up into smaller sections, and as they're passing through the forest that he can see from far away, it looks like this line goes on a lot longer than it would normally if they were lined up in a normal fashion. And so George McClellan retreats because he goes, oh my gosh, look, there's so many.
We might have to fight a war.
Yeah. And so it ends up not even working out there. So then that's another thing. So,
So now that's 3 things.
Those are only like the good ones to mention.
Yeah.
And then he also, Magruder used trees to paint cannons on to make it look like they had more artillery. So that was another thing. So
See, stuff like that.
that's like a genius thing to do, because it's like there's no binoculars yet. There's no,
No,
just
like you can't just be like, no, it's right there. There's no satellites or GPS. Like, who knows if McClellan had even ever been to that part of the country or seen it. He just shows up on a hill one day and is like, that's a lot of trees. All right.
and I'm gonna head out.
I'm out. Peace.
So yeah, eventually Lincoln does force him to push forward. So he does push forward, and then Robert E. Lee comes in and just completely annihilates him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's not.
Which Lee had a prior relationship with McClellan, and so he knew a lot of
I know he's a pussy.
Exactly. He knew that he would give up really easy. So it was a really easy. He just, even though they had a fraction of the amount of troops, he knew that he would be able to scare George McClellan away.
That is the this is why people are like, oh, why do generals matter? Isn't it like the soldiers fighting? Yes, it is the soldiers fighting, but it's the big sweeping decisions like on both sides.
Well, and Robert E. Lee was like the blue eyes white dragon of the.
He was the Exodia.
Yeah, he was the Exodia of the Civil Wars.
Pot of greed.
Yeah.
Nerd. Anyways, he wasn't he like an engineer? He was like a sapper, so he knew like fortifications and like engineering, and so he was a smart guy. But also stuff like this of you have to know the other, like know your enemy. So I know that McClellan is leading this army. McClellan is a weenie, and I know he has more soldiers. But if I can use the terrain that I know better than he does to my advantage, if I can intimidate him before the war even starts, I don't know if he like had other intelligence, but like knowing that Lincoln had to force his general to attack,
Yeah.
that's like a bad sign that he does not want to attack us already. So if we can pour on the pressure and mess with his mind, we can basically, you can't fight a war when in the middle of it you're like, I shouldn't be fighting this war.
Yeah.
You have to be in it. Otherwise, you are already dead. And McClellan was never really in it. Like, maybe from in principle he was in it, technically, but tactically he was not ever in it. He did not want to risk people. He didn't want to risk himself. And I don't know if it was because I don't want a bunch of people to die or I don't want to look bad. But either way, it didn't work. Because a bunch of people died and he looked bad.
Right, yeah. Old McClellan.
Oh, good old McClellan.
Okay, why don't we take a pause here, and we'll do part 2 next week. So, still ending on the downer. But it's like
we're
the Revolutionary War where we just kept losing until we figured out how to win. We just have a habit of doing that, I
We
guess.
do have a habit of just losing our way to victory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So just to recap the scoreboard, it is the end of it's a 2-minute warning. So near the end of the second quarter, and we're down like 21-3.
Yeah. Thank you, Grant.
Thanks, Grant. Grant kicked a field goal at Shiloh, but we are down 21-3 at the 2-minute warning.
Yep.
Join us again for second half action.
Yep. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for part 2.